Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you my take on some underrated and overrated cards in the Dusk Till Dawn set. Just kind of give my general opinions on why I think they're underrated or overrated, and then kind of go from there. Gonna have some spicy ones, definitely some ones that people are going to disagree with, which is fun. So if you disagree in the comments or agree, let me know, and we'll get right into it. But yeah, if you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're a long-standing supporter, I really appreciate y'all. It's been really fun this last month with the new set, kind of making new content and talking about new things. So yeah, we'll get right into it. Also, it's been a little bit of a break since my last video. I just got back from Europe on vacation, and I had done a bunch of preset videos, so I was just kind of taking a break, getting reset into work and things like that. So the video should be starting up pretty consistently now. But I'm going to get right into it. I have 3 cards, and I'm going to flip-flop between like overrated, underrated, overrated, underrated. And these cards aren't like, if they're overrated, it means the card's bad. It's not by any means. And if they're underrated, it means like doesn't mean like the card's game changing. It's just like I think the general public is slightly like evaluating them or not thinking about some certain aspects of them. And we'll kind of get right into it. And like I said, we have some spicy ones. So first one we're gonna do, and this is an underrated card. Sorry, is Scowling Flesh Bag. I know people say this card's great, and I know people are like talking about it a lot. I'm saying it's underrated because I don't think people are talking about it enough. It is class specific. It is a brute card, so it can be used currently in CC, at least in Levia and Reinhardt. And I think that this card literally has, ceiling wise, one of the highest values in the game from a equipment standpoint. I've heard Manzant say it on his streams too. Like, this card, when played properly or played at the correct time, is literally a second Husk for Levia, and it's a 5 or 6 block for Reinhardt. It can completely equalize aggro matchups. It makes Reinhardt's aggro matchups so much better now. When a Katsu gets a certain combo piece, they have 1 card in hand that they're going to need to discard for Katsu. He can use this, Reinhardt can use this as a way to like prevent them from Katsu triggering. He can use it in the Lexi matchup on her first attack to prevent the second arrow for coming in. Can use it like just literally anything. Fi's Art of War turns, being able to take away one of his last cards. You have to constantly play around this card, and even in the brute mirror, right? In Reinhardt versus Reinhardt, Levia versus Levia, or just Reinhardt versus Levia, having 2 Scowling Flesh Bags on the field is so incredibly funny to play around, because both brutes are literally just kind of a chess match, because the first time they play Blood Rush, this card's probably going to get used, and it makes it really hard to just like do a blowout turn, right? You can't really just hold your cards and go for a blowout turn, because they'll flesh bag you and prevent you from doing your last card. Like the typical like claw swing big turn that Reinhardt gets. If you claw me twice and we're in the mirror match and you have 1 card left in your hand, I'm just going to flesh bag that second claw, and I probably just prevented 8 to 10 damage, right? So it's super, super powerful. I know people are talking about it. I know people say it's good. I'm not saying it's underrated because people are saying it's bad. I'm saying it's underrated because people aren't talking about it enough, and I think that it's definitely one of the big hitters in this set. So that's the first one. The next one, we'll go this other way. The next one that's overrated, just slightly, I think it's Warmonger's Diplomacy. People are going to hit me in the comments for this one. That's fine. This is like the Chase Majestic for the set so far. It seems like they're going for like $24 a piece right now, which is just unbelievable. The card is very good. We'll start with what the card's good at. If you think of like the top cards in the deck, it says, starting with each hero to your left, each hero chooses War or Peace. If they choose War, the only actions they may play or activate during the next turn are weapon and attack actions. If they choose Peace, the only actions they may play or activate during this next turn are non-weapon or non-attack actions. So, you know, if you think about the top heroes in the meta, it affects Lexi, because if she chooses War, she can't play stuff like 3 of a kind. It can affect, you know, even like a bunch of different Briar and Viscerai, obviously, like the whole non-attack attack action combo that they like to do. It can really stunt them. It can even stunt Dromai, depending on what her hand looks like. It has a lot of use cases against a lot of the meta, and it can really affect them in a negative way. However, the reason I want to say it's slightly overrated is because it also affects you as a player. And depending on the deck you're running, this can actually stunt you. I literally had this happen today. I was playing Levia, playing against a Viscerai. I played Warmonger's Diplomacy at the end of my turn. They chose Peace because they had like an all non-attack action hand. I chose War, which with Levia, like you're always gonna have some type of attack most of the time, so it's not that big a deal. But on my next attack, so on my next turn, I have to do War because you have to choose yourself. It doesn't affect your current turn, but it affects your next turn because it says at the start, starting with the hero to your left, each hero chooses War and Peace. It doesn't say opposing heroes. It says each hero, so you have to choose as well. I chose War, and I drew into a Convulsions blue, a Blood Rush Bellow, a Boneyard Marauder, and I forgot what my fourth card was, but it was a pitch card basically. I think it was a Dreadwood Rumbler. So I couldn't play Blood Rush Bellow, and I couldn't play Convulsions. So like I was forced to just attack like what normally would have been a really good Blood Rush turn after they had lost tempo because they had to play non-attack actions. I only could attack for 6, banish 3, and then arsenal my Blood Rush, which really isn't the end of the world. However, it did hurt my turn. It hurt me from really taking tempo. So I think with certain decks, having this in your sideboard definitely is very useful, but I think it's really good for certain decks over others. I think in Uziri, it's amazing because you're almost always playing either reactions or attack actions. I think it's really good in heroes like Icelander because she can just naturally play it all the time. And so I think that, but then against other heroes, like if you're playing a Runeblade or if you're playing as Levia or anything like that, it's also really good in Katsu. I think that it could be a little bit of an issue. So it's just, the card's still very good. One of the best Majestics in the set. I think it's just people saw this card and they immediately thought like auto include every deck, sideboard, no questions asked. And I don't know if that's the case. I think certain decks can't really run it at risk of hurting themselves. So we'll have to see as time goes on though. Next one, going back to underrated, this is Dyadic Carapace. Again, we've talked about this card before on the channel. People are underwhelmed with this chess piece for some godforsaken reason because your Runeblade players are used to broken stuff. That's probably why. This card is a block 3 Arcane Barrier 2, which essentially it blocks 3 and it frees up a slot in your sideboard because most people that want to run AB3, you only have to run 2 pieces of equipment instead of 3, which is huge sometimes. And overall, it's just an amazing piece, right? Block 3 is just nutty within a Runeblade class that already blocks really well. You know, a Viserai, if you're not running like or a Briar, right? You're running Crown of Providence, this, Grasp, and Spellbound. You literally have 9 block at your disposal, which is pretty significant. And just overall, I think it's a really good card, and I think people were really downplaying it because they're like, the card's boring, it doesn't have any abilities or anything like that because people were used to like the old school broken legendaries. And I think this card's extremely underrated. You could even argue to put this card in the main board depending on what type of deck you're playing in Runeblade. I just think it's really good. In Vincent, it's also really good if you're playing like a slower Vincent game and you're not playing on the Tunic game plan. This is a really, really good option as well. And I just think overall it's something that people need to look at a little bit more. Then we have Diabolic Offering. I might get some hit on this. I am not a Levia connoisseur, right? So I am speaking from my limited experience, but I'm also just talking about the card in general. So the card's gotten a lot of hype. It seems in the Levia circles and at its ceiling. So this card basically says if a card with 6 or more has been put in your banish zone this turn, Diabolic Offerings attack and defense are 6. Otherwise, it's literally a non-block blue, right? And it costs 1 to play. So at its ceiling on offense, it's a 1/6, which is really good in Levia, especially at blue. Levia's new kind of like play pattern, it seems, is play a 2-cost attack into a 1-cost attack, like Dread Screamer into Boneyard, Dread Screamer into Diabolic Offering, something along those lines, right? Off of Art of War turn, you play something like Mark of the Beast into something else, whatever it may be, swing big into something else, off of a blue. So the 3-card hands can be like 12 damage, 13 damage, things like that. So it's really good to fit that game plan, but it has to be played on like an Art of War turn or on a Dread Screamer turn, which still is very good, but it can hurt you a lot because if you don't have that play line, this is literally just a blue pitch on offense. On defense, you can get this to block for 6, but the only real way you're ever going to do that is if you play it off Art of War, which I never want to be playing Art of War defensively. If I'm playing Art of War defensively, it probably means I'm in a really bad situation and I'm already on the losing side of the game. So yes, it can be like a get out of jail free, like oh shit card and give you like a second Husk ability. But I find this card a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean like 80-90% of the time. I find this card being just a blue non-block that does nothing. when it works, and it's great. But like on offense, if you're telling me its ceiling is a 1 for 6 blue, I already have so many 1 for 6s in my deck now with Graveling Growl, with Slithering, with Boneyard Marauder. You already have like 9 to 12 6 power 1 cost in your deck or more, like Graveling Growl Red 7. So I don't know. I'm not saying don't include it in your deck. I'm just saying I think a lot of people got super hyped about this card, like how good it is. And I think it's like kind of a copium card where like it can literally win you the game one game, but then cost you the game like once or twice without you knowing it, and you're just too stuck on like the good that it does. Also, Levia's in a weird spot right now because I feel like she has a lot of non-blocks in her deck. Like a lot of Levia's early on lists I've seen so far are kind of like the block slightly early and then have good value game later and later and get to that tradable state, which when you have 12 to 15 non-blocks in your deck, this actually doesn't help that game plan out very much. Because when you have this card and you have like Deadwood Rumbler and you have Doomsday and you have like all these non-block blues that typically don't get played early game, it can really hurt you because then you get to the mid to late game and all of a sudden you have 9 to 12 non-blocks in your deck out of like a 30 card deck, and 6 to 9 of them are blues that you want to hold for pitch. So like it's just a really weird situation. So it's gonna be interesting to see how much value this card gets over time and if eventually something switches it out. But overall, I think it's just slightly overrated. Then we have Censor. This is my last underrated. So we did overrated, underrated, overrated, underrated. This is my last underrated card. When this hits a hero, name a card. They can't play name card until the end of the next turn. This literally reads, if this hits a hero, name their power card. They can't play it, right? If this hits Lexi, I can say 3 of a kind, can't play it. And I just guarantee that I'm not going to get 3 of a kind that next turn. If this hits, any hero, just name any hero. If this hits Katsu, name Surging Strike. They can't play it. If this hits Prism, name like any major Herald or Figment that they might have on the board. Not Figment, but Herald they have on the board. They can't play it. Like literally every hero. You go down the list, right? It just continues. Like you name a Phi, like that just popped up on my screen. You name Art of War. They can't play it. There's just a lot of different things, especially against heroes, I think, like Lexi, where you can see what's in their arsenal potentially because one's flipped up. If they have a Bolton Shot in their arsenal and it's flipped, and you say, okay, you can't play that Bolton Shot. Or maybe they have a Rain Razors flip because they did it off of like Heat Seeker, and you're like, okay, Rain Razors, can't play it. It makes it really, really interesting. I think it's almost like a mini time walk with some opponents, depending on what it is. I'm not saying the card's like an auto-include and everything. I think it's really good in Uziri. And I think it's somewhat useful in Arachne. I think it'll be in like more control-based lists. You may even put this in a different list somewhere. Who knows? And it's a block 3. It only costs 1 to play. You can play it off Tunic. So it's got a lot of use cases. And I think it's a little bit underrated. I think people need to talk about the card a little bit more. I think it's really good. So yeah, that's it. I think Scowling Flesh Bag is underrated. I think Diplomacy is a little bit overrated. Carapace is underrated. Offering is overrated, and then Censor is underrated. That's kind of where I have it. Again, some of these are spicy, some of these are a little bit interesting, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to get your thoughts on it as a community and kind of see, what if you have any cards I didn't list that you think are severely overrated or underrated, let me know. These are just kind of some ones I pulled out of the hat to get the community's thoughts on. But yeah, if you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If not me, go to our Flesh Bug career, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff so we can get more people seeing this game. And I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.